Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel and welcome to a stream. Welcome to part 2, working on this guy right here. That's Chip Foose's D-100 pickup truck. So I'm gonna get that intro going and we'll get started. What have we got going on? Well, we've got our little engine, which I've done some work to. I will change the camera right away here. I'll change it so you can see a little bit better what my engine looks like now compared to what we left off with last time, okay? So, let me get this out of the way. Here's my little engine, okay? So, I put some spark plug wires on it. I painted up the valve covers. I put the front fan belts on, and of course I put the fan belt for this great big blower that I've put on top of the engine instead of the carburetors like you're supposed to in the kit. Okay, so we've got that. That's our little engine. Got a little starter on the side, and yeah, spark plug wires on there, all that fun cool stuff. I did have to extend. I had to make a little rod here for the blower to stick out to match the fan belt, and I added a little rod here for the, let me turn this the right way around, added a little rod here for the belt tensioner pulley and added that on there just for a little bit more realism, I guess you could say. So that when I do open up the hood on there, it looks a little bit more like this is meant to have the blower on it. So yeah, that's that guy there. The spark plug wires, they're really simple. I actually don't even have these glued in on the sides. I took my pin vise and I drilled they already had little holes inset in the heads to almost like they meant for you to drill them out, and I put my wires in there, and they're, like I said, they're not even glued in. I can pull them out a little bit, but they sit nice, so I'm not even going to glue them in. That's just the way it is. And ran the one wire all the way back to the ignition coil going in the back there, and so that's that. So in case you're wondering how I did the wires, well, I'd say I kind of cheated. I've got a couple of different brands of spark plug wires that I've bought. These are scale production ones. Comes with a distributor cap. You still have to drill out the cap, all the tips, if you want to put the wires in this one. And then there is this one, Gopher Racing. It comes with a little fake distributor cap with the wires already glued into it, and you just run the wires back to your spark plug holes. It comes with an extra thick wire for like battery cable or something like that. Oh no, these are boots. I'm sorry, this is for boots, to put your boots on, which is something I neglected to do, because the ones I used with the red, they come with a red one, and well, if I so choose, I could actually put the boots on there and actually have them sticking out. And then of course you get a little extra piece. I guess you could use that for your battery or whatever. You get an extra wire. I don't know if my blue kit has the extra wire. It doesn't seem to have the extra wire in it, so I'm not sure why I got an extra wire. But anyway, that's what I used. I used the Gopher Racing one. As you can see, it's kind of hard to see because the distributor is now right underneath the front of the blower there. Sort of see it if I get it at the right angle. Right in there is our little distributor, sitting in there, tucked in right underneath the blower. It's a somewhat tight fit. It ain't going nowhere unless I pull the blower off, of course. But yeah, there's our engine. Okay, so I'm going to put these over here. Put them in my bag of car parts and such. Okay, So let's go back. So what are we going to do today? We're going to continue on. I'll show you guys. I did do some Mr. Surfacer primer on the body. A couple of little things that I need to touch up. There was, after inspection, I saw there was a, oh, what do they call it? Like a parting seam in their mold right along there. Just right along the front on both fenders. And so I just sanded those down, and that's why that's all white on the tips there. So that's that. And there's a bit of a parting line. Remember, there's a big, the roof is a separate piece on this guy, right? So I just glued the roof on last time so that I could paint the whole thing as one, and discovered there's a little bit of a line right in the back there, just a bit of a gap. So I filled that in with my Vallejo putty, this stuff here, the Vallejo plastic putty. Filled that in there, wiped it all clean, so that when I actually get some paint on there, it's going to look better. I still need to just kind of sand that down just a little bit, just to smoothen it out so I don't have anything rough, any rough edges. In fact, there's that one little blemish right there that I can still feel. So I want to grab some sandpaper. This stuff here should be fine, just to smoothen that down a little bit. And that feels better just like that. Just get that smooth. I'm going to hit this with another coat of the primer, just so it's all, my color continuity will be right. And yeah, that's better. The corners are a little rough on this, but that's alright. We're not keeping it black, right? If I was going to do this thing in gloss black like the real truck is, I don't think I'd be very happy with the way that they've done the mold, because it's pretty rough. Just fixing up the edges on this. It's a little rough along around these edges here. There we go. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to hit this with another coat of the Mr. Surfacer 1500 black, and then we'll do some stuff with the chassis while this is drying. Okay. Actually, I don't want to hold it with my hands, so where's my big tape? I'm just gonna tape this guy to the inside back of the cab here, like I did before. Give me something to hold on to while I paint it. Just make sure the tape's good and solid in there. Okay. What it does make difficult is holding it at different angles. Of course, when you're spraying directly at your hand, you're gonna probably spray your hand, which I just did. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this sit for a little while, and we're gonna do some stuff on the chassis. I got overspray fingers now. Okay, so in the instructions, let's change the camera here. In the instructions, we basically assembled the engine, which is pretty much what we've done. The only thing left to go on the engine now is our air cleaner, but I'm going to leave that for last. Okay, I've decided not to use the butterflies on the top of the blower. I'm going to go with the actual Foose air cleaner on there. just because I want to kind of keep it. I think it looks cool. It'll be cool with kind of just the air cleaner sticking out of the hood instead of a blower. So, yeah. Just to remind you, it's a Foose truck. So next thing we need to do is put the headers on. They want you to paint it iron, but when I looked at the truck, the actual real truck, I see he's got ceramic coated headers on there. And so I'm going to fire up my air compressor because I'm going to do some aluminum painting, but I'm going to use Tamiya's X1. Okay, and I'm going to do the exhaust in this color here. Okay, so fire up my air compressor, get my airbrush ready. I'm going to paint our exhaust in this color, and then I'll do a little weathering on it to do a little weathering to make it look a little realistic. So here's the sprue with our exhaust. So here's our headers, and then our pipes here. I'm going to trim these off on the tips so I've got less touch up to do on them. So I'll do this, and then I'll trim that back like that so I can actually get at the sides. I'll do the same here. Trim these back. There we go. Now I'll clean up my pipes. I'm going to clean my pipes. What do I want to use to clean my pipes? I'm actually going to take this whole thing off of the sprue. Just do this. Okay, that's going to be easiest. And these are fine, but I do want to have them separate, so I'm going to do this. There we go. That way I don't have to wrestle around with an entire sprue. And this. Now we've got our nubs to clean up and get nice, although these are probably not going to be seen with the angle that they have these at. Nevertheless, I don't want these weird little things sticking out. Okay, there we go. Even these, at least, you know, even though it's like that, that's fine. Don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to grab the alligator clip, and this is how I'm going to hold it, like that. And these guys, this tip's never going to be seen, so I don't have to worry about that. And that's going to go right up against the head, so I'm not going to see those. So I don't have to worry about that at all. I just need another alligator clip for this. And there we go. Now I can turn that around and hold whatever I want. Okay? As long as I don't go crazy and think I'm a superstar with it. There we go. Pretty good. Alright. So, let's throw these away. Make sure this is shaken up. I don't think I've thinned this stuff. This is not thinned enough to spray. I find you can technically spray Tamiya paints right out of the jar, but you really gotta crank up your air pressure, and you gotta pull back hard on the trigger, and it really is not that great of an experience. The paint goes down really thick, and of course Tamiya paints dry really fast, so it really builds up layers and goes on. It just doesn't put a smooth finish down when you try and paint unthinned. So, and since I'm actually kind of running out of this, I'm gonna have to buy some more. I'm just gonna thin it right in the jar. Which basically doubles my amount, which means I've got lots to spray with. Of course, if I ever want to brush paint this, it's not going to turn out too good, but this would be good. This is now great for spraying. And I'm going to do this. I do this, as you maybe seen, I do this all the time. X11. Chrome. And I put a big T on there so that I know it's thinned. I do this with all my stuff. There we go. Okay, so we're ready to fill my cup. I'll get my other camera over here. Get that ready. Okay. Fill up my cup. I don't need a lot. I'm only doing the exhaust. A couple of things I could do with it. I could do the brake discs. Put thinner on there. Okay, I'll change my cam so you can watch me paint a little bit. Move my coffee out of the way again. Okay, let's start with these guys. Making sure I get all the angles. There we go. What a nice silvery set of exhaust tubes. Okay. Let's do this. I'm sure my cab is dry now, so let's just get rid of that. Okay. And my sanding is a little rough up here, so I'm going to have to sand that a little smoother. But that'll be later. Next, we have our headers. This is where, I don't want to hold it like this and spray like this because, well, that's just spray painting my fingers for no reason. So change the angle on it. Just to make sure I get all the angles. And there we go. We got some nice silver headers. Just like that. Okay, and like I said, I think I can do our brake discs right there. I'll do our discs. The radiator is supposed to be aluminum. This is a little too shiny for that, but this will be good for our rotors, brake rotors. I'm cranking back. That's a funny thing about Tamiya. I find with the Tamiya silver paints. They spray great for a minute and then all of a sudden they just stop flowing. There we go. We've got some nice shiny brake discs like that. We could do our carb, even though I'm not using it. The carb could be a future piece, you know, spare parts, that kind of thing. Why not, right? Why not? Okay, I think that's about it for what I want to paint silver on this thing. Nothing else really is going to be silver like that. So, that's going to be it. So, you guys watching live, you get to watch me clean my airbrush. I will cut the I'll cut the video for you guys not watching live so that you don't have to watch me clean my airbrush.
Later.
Okay, so that's done. Airbrush is clean. Like I said, I like to let the airbrush dry before I reassemble it, so I just leave the needle off to the side and leave it like that. Okay. Alright, so we need to put the headers on, and then we're going to put the engine onto the frame. I have the frame already painted black. Again, all I've done is just paint it with the Mr. Surfacer 1500, and that's a great color, and I can just leave it like that. I don't have to worry about it, right? So, let's change the camera back so you guys can see, and let's get to work on our headers again. Let's, now that they're dry, because of course Tamiya paint's dry within a couple of minutes. So yeah, it's nice and quick and done. Let's get these off of here. There we go. I'll just do that. Throw it away. And I'm just going to clean this up. Not because it's visible, but because I want it to fit on the heads nice and flush. And in fact, I'm going to scrape away my paint on this edge like this. Why am I scraping away the paint? Just to help the glue get in there and do its thing in melting the plastic together. That's the only reason why I'm doing that. The glue is probably going to do its job regardless of removing the paint, but if the glue is going to hinder it at all, well, scraping it away just solved that problem. Okay, so we got our little two tabs. They're going to go into those little holes, and it's going to go in just like this. Just like that. It actually is a really good fit. Fits pretty good. In fact, it's going to hold its own just like that. Okay. So, again, before I get it installed, I want this flush and flat to give our exhaust pipes a good surface to glue against when we get to that point. Okay. And I'll just do a test fit on this side too. Thing should go into those slots. Oh yeah, it just fits in perfect. Actually, I'm really impressed. Usually they don't have a super precise fit on our headers, right? But before we do that, I do think I'm going to attempt to make my spark plug boots for the edges here. Okay, so I think I want to go just for continuity. I want it in realism. I don't think the boots should be too long, so maybe about that long there I think could be a good. So I'm going to do this. Try and get them all the same. Oh boy. Okay, that one is gone. I heard that one fling against the wall. So So let's be a little more careful at cutting. Okay, there's two. I'm going to do them all against this one. Okay. It would be better if I actually had a ruler instead of eyeballing it like this. It's 4. 5. 6. 7. And 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Okay, so this is where not gluing them in yet is actually quite an advantage. See, I actually left them really long too. So grab this wire and slide that on there, and then put our wire back in the hole. And now gluing is going to be a good idea, right? Let's see, the boot's a little bit too big. Makes me wonder what they use for these. What is this? It would be awesome if this was heat shrink tubing, but it's probably not. But in any case, there's our spark plug boot sitting on there. I'll do that for the rest of them. It really should work front to the back. I kind of need to glue them in now. And for that, we need some CA glue. And my glue tip has dried up, so happens to me quite a bit. There we go. Here's my fancy, expensive applicator. Get a little bit of glue in there. Get that boot down there. Convince it to stay. There we go. And one little bit more. Here we go. Alright, so let's work on our second one now. This didn't really glue down at all, so there we go. Now we got some glue on there. Nice thing about these being wires is they're actual wires, and so they kind of stay put where they belong. Wherever you bend them, they stay. Come on. There we go. Let's glue that boot down. I'm really just kind of gluing the boots in. I'm not so much gluing the wire. I'm just going to kind of put my finger on these. Pull this one out. Get our fourth one on. Go. And there we go. So we've got our boots on that side. Which you're probably not really going to see very much once it's all in. Once the engine is actually in the engine compartment on the truck. Fluff on my wire there. Okay, because I don't want them really bugging each other. Come on, get in your home. What's the matter? Too good for your home? You were fine. Why don't you go back in your home? There you go. Okay, next one. Let's just do this. Our last one. There we go. Okay. Now let's put the wires back in their holes. There we go. Now that all of our boots slid down to the ends, there we go. So let's get them all in their positions. There we go. I want my wires a little more straight up. This. There we go. Okay, ready for glue. The beauty of this is the positioning of the wires doesn't interfere with, you don't have to try and go in between the header pipes on this particular engine. Because they all go in the same spot. Okay. I think I've got them glued in. This one is not. Does not want to stay in its home. It just means a little more of that special glue. And hold it for a sec. And then she'll stay. I said, and then she'll stay. Yeah, it just doesn't want to stay. So we're going to convince it to stay. So that even if the wire does want to pull out a little bit, the boot's going to stay in its spot. And sometimes that might take a little bit of the accelerator requirement, but that should be all right. Just hold it for a sec. Sometimes CA glue tips take that extra minute. There we go. We've got our boots in there on that side. Okay, we're going to switch our focus back to this side and we're going to put our header on. Okay. I'm actually going to take a Q-tip and soak up the last of this so that I can reuse my little container again another day. Okay, glue. We're working on this side like that. Just to make sure we're flat against there. There we go. That side's on. Right. Headers are on. this side does not want to stay. So I believe I touched it, so I use my extra thin to get in there. And this one actually isn't in all the way. See this gap here? That actually might be by design. No, it's not. Our pegs are not in. There we go. Now we're in. Okay, I'm going to use some extra thin on there. To make sure we've got proper coverage. And that we're sitting flush on the head. And that looks pretty good. Alright, now our header's on. It's interesting that they're not exactly the same. This one sits further back than this one does. And I'm sure that's by design. They've done that on purpose. Right, you can see that they don't line up evenly here and here. But that's alright. Okay. So, next is putting it down on the frame. So let's grab our frame. So it's supposed to sit like this, our frame. And how does this sit? I know basically we have an axle that's going to go right through the oil pan through here. So I already know that's kind of where it lines up. And I think what's going to have this little tab that's on the transmission probably goes right there. So knowing that, I am going to scrape the paint away on this little spot here. Just like that. And I'll do the same on this little tab. Sorry, I'm doing that off camera. Just making sure that's going to actually glue and that's going to stay. Okay. Because she's going to go like that. Okay, I see now. These two little tabs on the side of the block, right here and right here, they go in, they slot in right in here and here. And that's our 3 points. 1, 2, and 3, just like that. Okay. So, knowing that, I'm just going to line those up like this. Sit that down in there. Just like that. Okay. Okay. So, glue on that. Glue on that, and glue on that. Okay. And our engine is in. Just like that. Okay, so I don't want it sitting down on the ground right now. I don't want the headers in there. I want to let that sit for a minute. Okay. Our next step, while that's dry, let that sit for a minute because we have to flip it over to put in the exhaust pipes. In the meantime, let's assemble our rear differential. Okay. And we've got an aluminum drive shaft that needs to go in. Okay. So let's get our diff. We've got our 2/2 of our, looks like a Ford 9-inch rear end. It's this guy. And this guy. Okay. Trying to determine how it's supposed to go. So our alignment tabs don't seem to match up. There we go. I don't know why I was struggling so much with that. Okay, it kind of doesn't want to stay together, so I'm going to use my extra thin on one end. In the middle. And then I'll just use one of these. Clamp. And do the same with this side. Sorry, I'm doing that off camera so you guys aren't even seeing. And then clamp. Just to hold that together for a minute. Let that sit. Let that dry while I take a look at our drive shaft. The drive shaft is here. That needs to be painted aluminum. I think I'm just going to brush paint it. I've got my flat aluminum here. Flat aluminum, that is to me is, what's the number on this? XF16. Okay. Let's make sure that is mixed. This here. Grab a brush. Drive shafts are never a glamorous thing, which is why brush painting I think is good enough. Get the idea. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, they're not a glamorous thing. Nobody looks at a drive shaft and says, oh, that looks so beautiful. Alright, good enough. Let that dry. I'll clean my brush. Okay, so this should be dry now, or not dry, but cured, and I can clean up my nubs. Of course, we do have our parting line here. Now this is going to sit like that, which means this bottom side is going to be exposed. Now, having seen real 4 9-inches in my life, I know there's no parting line along the center like this. They're made out of one solid piece of cast iron. I'm going to assume that Chip Foose did not splurge on an aluminum 4 9-inch. Which is why this is supposed to be black and not aluminum. Because if he had bought an aluminum 4 9-inch housing, this would not be black. It would be aluminum. So I'm just going to get rid of our parting line here a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be black. I just want to have the peace of mind knowing that there's no ugly looking parting line going along the top of this thing. Or I guess technically the bottom. And that's what I'm going for. Let's get rid of that line. Okay. And now I need to paint it again. So I'm going to grab another alligator clip. That spot's good, pretty good. And I'll get my Mr. Surfacer 1500 again, black. Again, this stuff here. Shiny right now, but when that paint dries, she's going to be flat black again, and will match the frame. Okay, so I'll just stick this right here for now. Okay, all right. So our engine should be nicely cured and stay in its home now. It's nice. Doink, 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 doink. Yep, she's staying in her home. All right. Which means we can grab our exhaust pipes. Flip her over and see how our exhaust pipes go in. Of course, they are separate, so let's take this off of here and off of there. bear with me a minute here, guys. Okay. The joys of doing things live. So you never know when something's going to screw up. Okay, so I gotta look at my instructions again here. Is we're supposed to go with these going in the inside and then our little pipes dumping out, which means this is supposed to be hollow, but it's not. So I don't think there's any exhaust tips. Let me just double check here if there's exhaust tips that go on this truck, or if they just dump out there. I think they just dump out in front of the rear axle there. And there's no actual tips. I'm going to say probably not. No, there's no exhaust tips. So that's an unfortunate little lack in the detail. Because they should have at least done some kind of effort to hollow these out. But that's okay, because that's what I'm going to do. Get that right in the middle there and kind of do this. Okay. Put my thing right in the middle. Do that. Okay, now I've got two little pilot holes. Now I'm going to grab my pin vise. Let's get a hole started. Okay, we're not quite in the center, but that's okay, because we can work our way to the center. Just by changing the angle. I'm not pressing too hard, because I don't want to go crazy with it. Going in deep enough that it's going to be realistic. Okay, there's one. Now, I'm not done with it. Don't think that I'm done. Okay. I definitely am not done. This one is a little more off center than the other one was, so I'm going to be careful in my angles. Okay, so as you might be able to tell, you might not be able to, that's not quite in the center. And so what I do is with my knife, I'm going to kind of carve that side to get it a little more centered in the hole, or centered in the pipe, just like that. And I'm going to do that so that when I step up the size with the next drill bit, the drill bit will be more inclined to stay in the middle. Okay. So I'm going to use a little bit bigger drill bit. Okay, which means I'm going to grab my other pin vise. This one holds bigger bits in it, as you can see. Okay, so I'm going to try this one, see how close that is to the pipe size. That's a little too close. This is a little too big. So let's go a little bit smaller. That one I think will work good. Okay. So, let's put these back in. All right. Now you don't have to go in super deep. You just want to You want to have it tight enough. Come on. Sometimes this particular one, this is a really cheap pin vise that doesn't like to cooperate sometimes, and it's still not tight enough. This particular pin vise, I've had to literally, it's just going to work. Let's try, I have my Tamiya. Let's see if this one works. Okay, so the Tamiya one holds it tight. It should work, yeah. Tamiya pin vise. Definitely better than the dollar store special. Alright, so now we've got an actual hole in there. That's one. I mean, okay, we're going to be painting the tip of the hole black anyway, because realistically exhaust pipes don't stay super shiny at the tips. But now we've got something that looks at least like a tube, looks like a pipe. I'm just going to leave this in my Tamiya. Put that away. Put that over there. I don't need my pliers anymore. Let's get our exhaust pipes put in, and then I'll call it a day. Okay, so we've got a pin here. It looks like we're going to go right there. Ah, looks like we go under like this, and then we've got a gap there. We don't line up. Isn't that fun? So we get to guess at where it's actually going to connect on the header. All I can do really is kind of line it up like this. And just kind of hope for the best. It does kind of touch the frame. It touches the brake booster right there. So I'll glue that there like that. A little more. Hey. Sit for a sec while I hold it. We'll see what the other one's like. Okay, so I'm just going to let this sit now, and that's what we're going to do for now. We're going to let that dry, and I'm going to call it a day. That's going to be it for this one, guys. Next time I'm hoping we'll get started painting on the body, and we'll get some color put on that, and yeah, we'll go on from there. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for being patient with my camera acting up like that. I will edit that for our non-live guys. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that my camera keeps timing out like that. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for coming out, and we'll see you all in the next one.